welcome to the next episode of Discipline, Desire, and Dedication. My name is Dakota Lang, along co-host Garrett Cotton. Start of the new year, 2026, and I'm glad you got the hoodie on, so you're not too cold from that cold plunge this morning.
I like to stay warm after because I got in. That's all that matters. We're consistently getting in the cold plunge. But let's kind of talk about it. What our new year is looking like so far.
Yeah. So the main topic we're going to go over today is challenging yourself, right? So a lot of people in the audience or listeners are, you always hear about the New Year's resolutions, right? So what are going to be some of your big goals that you're going to strive for and accomplish this year? Well, we both talked about goals and stuff like that, and day 4 on the cold plunge again. I kind of fell off on the end of last year with the holidays and stuff like that. So
I think most people that I've heard where New Year's resolutions, like 80% of people fall off of their resolution by February.
Right.
So for us,
I think one of the biggest things is that when people do New Year's resolutions, a lot of them, they make them too overcomplicated rather than just small, simple task. Because if you give yourself a small, simple task, then it's way more easy to accomplish.
I feel like each year that I've gone, like even this year, my goal list consisted of like 3 things.
Yep.
Whereas last year it was like 7 things. The year before that it was like 9 things. So like each year as we're progressing in life, our goal list gets smaller and smaller because it's just one goal that I will not give up on. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
and one thing that I think whenever you do stuff like that, because like you said, a lot of people fall off in February, and it really takes an amount of discipline and a level of focus to make sure that you don't fall off that track, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from coaching yourself. So what are some different things that maybe you could elaborate on like how you coach yourself whenever you're, doing the cold plunge like we've been doing for the past couple of days?
Yeah, I think it always comes back down to like what we always call it non-negotiables and stuff like that. When you instill non-negotiables in your life, there's no debate on it. It comes back to like, you never split the difference. Like what I say I'm going to do is exactly what I'm going to do. And that's the kind of stuff that helps us to be better leaders, because we say that we're going to go out and get out with this person and train that person. We do it, but it takes time to build up that mindset. Some of the non-negotiables that I've seen that have helped out tremendously in performance windows for us is the cold shower. Before me and you got into windows, we didn't do cold showers or anything like that. But that's one thing that now we preach to every person that comes through our downline is you got to wake up in the morning, take a cold shower, do a cold plunge. And, there's a lot more reason behind that. It's by doing something hard every day, telling yourself you're going to do it, and then going out there and doing it.
But also one thing that I've learned over the past, I would say, like you said, before we even started with performance, you couldn't have got me in a cold shower.
I hate cold water. I hate cold water.
But something that I do to practice on whenever I'm chasing goals and stuff like that is I'm always trying to mentally prepare myself for what's to come. So for example, last night, I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, I'm getting up in the morning, non-negotiable. I'm hitting the cold plunge. I'm already preparing myself what I got to do the night before rather than wake up the day. And it goes back to the saying of don't let the day attack you, you attack the day, right? So, or millionaires know what they're doing the night before rather than the day of. You know what I mean? So making sure that before you go to bed, go ahead and plan out your day, right? What are you going to do? Non-negotiable. Are you going to hit the ice plunge? Are you going to go to the gym? Are you not going to eat bad foods? Whatever the listener's personal goal is, go ahead and start preparing for that the night before.
And it is so easy to wake up in the morning and talk yourself out of it. I had to do it too. I had to get up. The night before, I have to pack my bag. I have to put it in my truck. Because you'll wake up in the morning and you'll be like, oh man, I don't even know what I'm going to wear today. You start dragging your feet a little bit, and then it turns into, in the back of my mind, even today, it's like, man, if I get there a little bit later and then our workout lasts a little bit longer, then we won't have time for the cold plunge because we got to come do the podcast. That goes through your mind. That is true talk.
Yep.
And but because I prepared the night before and told myself that, hey, it's going to suck, just embrace the suck, then that's where we're able to achieve the goals. But for challenging yourself, yeah.
Yeah, And also, like you said, those little thoughts,
Oh yeah.
right? I always say it's like a little voice in the back of your head. I always say it's the devil.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? The
it really
devil trying
is.
to tell you to go do something that's the easy route, right? But at the same time, like when you first start chasing those goals, right? That voice is way louder, right? He's real loud. But as you slowly beat him down, right, then you just become more in control. And then it's easier for you to accomplish your goals.
Yeah. It's that consistency. Yeah. Everybody says there's power in consistency, you know, and to relate it to door-to-door sales. I always say it's like the people who work 6 days a week, they progress fast. The people who outworked me and worked 7 days a week, they progress fast because every day it becomes the norm that they just know they're going to go out there and do it.
Talk about, because I haven't done 75 hard. You have completed it, but it took you 9 times. Talk about that process in your brain. You know what I mean? That voice is giving you an excuse of, oh, well, if I do this, I might not have enough time for this. You know what I mean? And you can allow yourself to fall back to where, you had to restart to where the one time you did, you pushed through all that.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is it comes back to that preparation the day before. Because the thing is 75 consistent days, there's not a day off, so preparing yourself at the end of the night when you've accomplished all of your list of tasks, preparing for yourself the next day. Because the reason that I failed 8 other times before is because of lack of preparation. I know that I got to move, and this is just one of the examples. I knew that I had to move from Colorado to Utah, but instead of preparing myself and saying, well, I got to work out before I get in the car and start loading things up, other than that, I won't have time to do it because I'm going to be in the car until 12 o'clock at night driving to Utah. I knew in the back of my mind that is what it needed to be done in order to achieve the goal. But because of lack of preparation, I woke up that morning and I'm like, oh, I'll work out when I get to Utah. It ain't going to happen, but it's because you allow yourself an opportunity for escape.
Procrastination.
Yeah. Procrastination will kill you, you know? Well, not really, but maybe not.
Maybe.
Yeah. So just locking on those goals, but the consistency aspect, I think, is what's so important for it, because for me, it's like you're telling and talking about it, telling people what you're doing. I feel like whenever other eyes are on you, it's easy to hold yourself accountable.
That's another thing. So me and Cotton started a 72-hour fast. We did our New Year's meal yesterday with our pork, our beans, and our cabbage.
And for the listeners that are not from the South, because we didn't know this, but a lot of people here in Utah don't know about this tradition. So kind of go into the tradition a little bit.
You go into tradition.
Okay, the tradition. All right, so it's a true Southern tradition. I've done it since I was a baby. Like my whole life, I thought everybody did it. But it's known to eat black-eyed peas, smothered cabbage, pork of some sort. We usually do like fried pork chops or smothered pork chops, something like that. And then cornbread, which we didn't do the cornbread. But the meaning behind it is like it's for wealth, prosperity, and abundance. And it's a tradition that if you eat these things, I don't know the reason behind it, but it's just tradition that it's going to help you in your next year. We also just did a little Googling that there's ways to intensify the tradition, and you can throw a coin in your pot of beans. There's things like that. And it's just kind of luck. If you pull the coin, then you're bound to be abundant and wealthy, So, but that's what we did yesterday. And we started our day off with a very, very hearty meal, just a good home cooked meal. Everything that was cooked for 3 or 4 hours. And then we started our fast. So if you want to go into our fast.
Yeah, 72-hour fast. So, and kind of the point where I was going to with that is we started that yesterday at 4:30. And I think it's like 9:30, 9:45 right now on the following morning. And on the way here, we were talking about, because me and Cotton usually go to Jim's, and that's a breakfast place that we always go to. And we're laughing about it, but at the same time, like that little voice in the back of your head is going, yeah, you can go eat you some eggs over there. You know what I mean? But what you were talking about as far as like telling people.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I necessarily agree with telling people, because I always believed in work in silence.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of a fine line to think about.
I believe, for me, if you can work in silence, you're stronger than me. I will say that, because it comes down to integrity of doing what you're supposed to do when nobody's watching. But I'm sure everybody knows. It's like if you tell me something, it's harder for you to let me down than it is to let yourself down. And that's where it's like, if you're a new person that's entering like the challenges of life and you're trying to excel and be successul, I believe it's important to lean on somebody and have that partner or
buddy system.
Have a buddy system, or even post it on Instagram. If the thing is, like, even 75 hard, I've thought about posting on Instagram and of each thing that I'm doing, and then I can't fail. Because you know how many people are going to be keeping up with that, watching me every day, you know? So it's just find your motivation and find your discipline. And the discipline, it's so easy to lie to yourself. We do it every single day when we say we're going to get out of bed. And
one of our previous guests, Gage Heward.
Yeah.
He's like on day something of like his same morning routine, that he's a big Tony Robbins fan.
Yeah.
And you probably see him on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he says that social media is the best accountability partner.
It's true, because that's where all the judgment comes from.
Yeah.
The people who watch that's who's judging us, because you know, that's all it is. And so, you know, I think that accountability aspect is really, really important, especially if I think it's most important in your beginning phases of it, but as you scale in your life, and it's super important of how, like, me and you, we're on the same path. You know, find somebody who's doing the same things as you, and then we can hold each other accountable. Just like on the 72 fast, me and Dakota are constantly talking some smack. Be like, oh, go ahead, get you some Starbucks this morning, you know?
Yep.
And that's the fact is, like, by him saying that, no shot. Like, he will eat before me. I'll make sure on Sunday he takes the first bite, you know? It's that kind of stuff.
But that's what it takes to really bring you to another level, you know what I mean? Because like you were saying, a lot of people fall off on their New Year's resolutions by February, when in reality, if you have a good buddy system, you know, and I'm in agreement with that, if you have a good buddy system or a good system that works for you, is going to make it to where you can prolong that and actually see the results of what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And so what are we trying to accomplish? Kind of go into that and we can kind of tag in. So what do you think is going to be the benefit of this 72-hour fast?
Mental for me. You know what I mean? Obviously, you're going to get a lot of health benefits from it. I'm not the biggest health freak, you know, just like the ice plunge, you get a lot of benefits from the ice plunge in the morning, but it's more about the mental war for me, because we always relate it back to door-to-door sales. That's why we're in the position that we are now, is, you know, in door-to-door sales, guess what? You're a lone wolf in the streets. You know, ain't none of them homeowners care about you. Times get hard, but it's whenever you don't feel like knocking another door, are you willing to knock another door?
Yep.
You know what I mean? When you don't feel like getting in the ice plunge, are you willing to get in that ice plunge and do it?
Still go knock it. We know it's going to suck. It's like no soliciting signs. It's going to suck.
Yep.
Got to go knock it.
Got to go knock it. Can't skip it.
You
know, so that's the biggest thing for me. And I think that's one of the big changes that I've kind of made into my goal setting compared to what I've done in the past, is I've always wanted to, because you want big goals, you want all that stuff. But the main thing is I tell people all the time, is like the worst habit to have is not hitting goals. That's a bad habit. You know what I mean? But if you can get into consistency of hitting your goals over and over again, then it just makes it, you know, then you actually get to reap benefits of it.
Yeah, and you become that guy.
Yeah.
Like I was telling somebody yesterday, I was telling them about Grant Cardone. It's like Grant Cardone is just a guy who does what he says he's going to do. You know, like Donald Trump, like he's a guy who does what he says he's going to do, you know? So like in that situation, Grant Cardone, if you were to say, Grant, I need you to do this, and he agrees to doing it, you're confident, your belief in him is, you know, it's going to be completed because he's that guy that does what he says he's going to do, you know, in every aspect.
And that goes back to that little voice in the back of your head, man. Mm-hmm. That little voice in the back of your head, what I call the devil. You know what I mean? If you can squash that dude and you beat him down to where he ain't even going to say nothing because he knows you're going to do it, you know?
I think speaking out loud helps as well, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Getting into that cold plunge, I'll be walking around and in silence in the back of my head, it's like, oh, that's cold, Garrett. You don't want to get in there. It's going to suck. And then I'll be out loud, stay hard, you know? And I literally had to say, stay hard. Just get in there. And then you notice that I was like, and I was like, stay hard. And I like locked in, like did it like I was done. You know, I could breathe because it's all in your mind. It's all in your head. It's just cold water. You know, it's just knocking a door. It's just working out. It's just, you know.
Small task.
It's a small task, but it's just, are we willing?
Yep. And that's another thing with goals, right? It is like I told whenever I was sitting in the cold plunge this morning, I laughed. I was like 6 minutes out of 24 hours. You know what I mean? Like you can't fuck with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the same thing for like going to the gym. Yeah. If your goal is to be consistent at the gym, you know, whatever your goal is, you know, all that is an hour at the gym out of 24 hours.
And when you do it consistently, you become the guy who owns that gym.
Yep.
You walk in, you know your parking spot. They know you when you walk in. You know, you become him. You know, and people they're almost jealous of your consistency. You know,
100%. So.
Yeah. And then, so it's kind of the time as well, the 72-hour fast, we're going to go through this and we're going to finish on Sunday, kind of ease our way back into it. But our biggest thing is the mental challenge that we're choosing. This year, I put a lot of challenges for myself. You know, I challenged myself to read the entire Bible this year. You know, it's a big book. I challenged myself as well to complete 75. I actually told myself I want to live a 75 hard year, where it's like try and go a whole year of like, every day trying to get those workouts, every day trying to keep up with my water, you know, tracking, control. I think it comes down to a lot. Challenging yourself is being able to control your life. You know, if you're not challenging yourself on the day to day, you know, what's going to happen? You know, we could wake up today, think about if we didn't challenge ourselves. We'd sleep till 9, we'd get out of bed, we'd go eat a big old breakfast, you know, just keep on stacking it and bad habits, you know. But now we've made the efforts to make a change in our life, and that's what this challenge is going to help us with.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to make a difference for sure.
Yeah,
so
mentally, yeah, physically.
Yeah, the stomach's about to start growling here in a second.
Mine's already growling. I'll tell the story. Last night, I was cutting up grapes for Evelyn, my daughter, and I was literally cutting and my mouth was watering. I'm like, ooh, these are sweet. Like I can tell just by cutting them, they're going to be good grapes. Yeah. And then I realized, I was like, I can't eat these. So I cut like a big old bowl of grapes and just gave them to Caitlin and Evan Addie. So they ended up eating the grapes. But I was like, nope, can't do it. Got to stay strong.
Stay strong. Choose hard.
Choose hard.
So, all right. Well, we greatly appreciate you watching. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure to smash the subscribe button down below. Also, drop a comment. If you're on Facebook, share the post as well. We greatly appreciate all the support. And this is the beginning of 2026. And we'll catch you next time. Peace out.